Hello, fantastic people. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I don't know about you, but I'm starting to think 2026 is kind of be a little bit wilder than 2025. I mean, it's getting off to a really weird start, right? I mean, we had 2025 ended very strangely. I'm starting to wonder if anything we see on mainstream media news is real. You know, in regards to these ICE protests, they look real. But then you have things emerge from them, like that one rally I showed you of the African-American man who was
anyone accountable, you'll be terminated.
using what appeared to be brainwashing techniques to rally the crowd, and they had signs with butterflies behind them, which of course is the symbol for MK Ultra. You know, I read Marilyn Monroe was MK Ultra. I mean, it makes sense, right? The hair, everything. The brothers, you know, the affair. The triangle, very strange. But anyway, I had mentioned something about what could possibly be the new Black Panthers emerging out of all of this chaos, this Catholic communist chaos that we're seeing with these ICE protests. And I think we need to kind of be aware of what's going on, because the new Black Panthers were not good. In fact, members of the old Black Panthers, the original Black Panthers, we'll just call them the Black Panthers, they wanted nothing to do with the new Black Panthers. I found a clip of another man. I don't know if he was African or not, because I couldn't see him. I could just
if they take me in the morning, they're going to come for you in the night.
Rallying the troops late at night in front of the
You didn't think it had anything to do with you
ICE facility
when they were killing black and brown
and he
people.
brought up George Floyd.
You didn't think it had anything to do with you
And
when they were
she was
terrorizing
online.
Latino and East African students at Minneapolis Roosevelt High School. And then they come out here and kill a white woman, and you see a piece of yourself in it. And you have a fraction
Obviously
of the experience.
So when I saw this on the news today, yeah, unfortunately, it looks like I was right. It looks like we have the new Black Panthers. You know, it's probably not going to go anywhere. But we've seen these types of groups before. His tactics.
For a very long time, seeing ourselves in the bodies of Jamar Clark, of Dalal Eid, of George Floyd, of Terrence Franklin.
Okay. Be a somewhat large demographic that would want to fall into this little cult, you know, cult of chaos. We'll see. I really don't think it's gonna really go far. It just is something that could become a problem that maybe we should just mention. And again, this connection between Ilhan Omar and Pam Bondi sure does explain a lot, right? I wonder who else was recruited by Qatar. I mean, we know who's on that, you know, APAC list. Who's on the Qatar list? Crazy. I can't imagine. I know they say money corrupts, but I can't imagine. I love this country too much. I could never sell out. So let's pray for these people. You know, maybe they just need a cleansing, a spiritual cleansing, and another chance. Otherwise, Lord, if they don't change from their wicked ways, please. Thank you for exposing them. Well, please help us get justice and lock them up. Because this new Black Panther, it could result in a death. Just like we've seen these Catholic Liberation Theology, social justice groups. You know, CPCP, Ruth Wilson Gilmore, and all these matriarchs from the 60s who want to give it one last college try, you know, before it's too late. Time is ticking for them, sadly. So let's get into the new Black Panthers. Here we go again. The Root. New Black Panther Party emerges in Minneapolis protests, but everyone isn't happy about it. Decades after the Black Panther Party's rise in the 60s, a new Panther movement in Philadelphia is upsetting founder Huey P. Newton's family. Published January 22nd, 2026. ICE agents surrounded by Black Panthers. A resurgence of the Black Panther Party threatens urban peace as armed members clash with ICE policies. Respect and protect the Black woman. And what does that have anything to do with ICE? Let's see if they explain themselves. Black Panthers' armed protest sparks tensions. On January 8th, 2026, the streets of Philadelphia witnessed a potent display of activism as members of the revived Black Panther Party, armed with military-style weapons, joined an anti-ICE protest. This demonstration was a reaction to the tragic death of Renee Nicole Good, who was killed by ICE agent Jonathan Ross in Minneapolis. The national chairman of the Black Panthers, Paul Birdsong, declared that, if present in Minneapolis, they would have ensured no harm came to the protesters, while calling for the abolition of ICE and accountability from the Trump administration. The protest, which took place outside Philadelphia City Hall, highlighted a resurgence of militant Black power activism. The Black Panther Party, historically known for its self-defense stance against police brutality, hasn't re-emerged in Philadelphia with a small group trained by original members. Now, are they original Black Panther members, or are they original New Black Panther members? Because we know that the enemy lies. Their presence has sparked debate, echoing the group's past, but with a new focus on current immigration policies under President Trump's administration. Their open criticism of federal agents and armed presence at public demonstrations underscore the heightened urban tensions in Trump's second term. Well, this is just the same thing as what was happening in the first term, so it's weird to say it like that. Philadelphia's response to federal immigration policies. Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner has positioned himself as a staunch opponent of federal overreach, particularly concerning ICE operations. He has publicly warned ICE agents that any criminal actions in the city will be met with prosecution. Okay. What criminal actions is he going to list? An example for the real harsh kind of assertion to be made against federal agents? Are we going to quote any kind of criminal action that he has basis for that comment? This stance comes as the Trump administration pushes for a greater ICE presence in urban areas. The protest in Philadelphia followed violent incidents in Minneapolis, with local organizers warning of potential risks if similar actions are not curbed. So no, they're not going to. Still, there's no evidence of criminal action by ICE federal agents. I would say that the only possible incident of a criminal action of ICE that we're aware of is the last shooting of that's Peretti, I believe his name was. However, I don't know that that police officer is actually guilty of any crime to be punished. It doesn't seem like he executed the man. It seemed like there were tons of people obstructing justice, applying psychological warfare, not to mention the fact that the man who was shot attacked the federal agents, attacked their vehicle. He accosted federal agents, he attacked their vehicle, and he was armed. He brought a loaded gun. Like, what are you thinking? Of course, there's a really high possibility that you're going to get shot if you accost federal agents, attack their vehicle, all while you're armed and obstructing justice. There is a good possibility that a likely consequence of that action, those choices, is going to be you getting shot. What happened to common sense? But again, we can go back to the whole MK Ultra thing and all the brainwashing that's going on. And these men that are doing the brainwashing. 50 years later, who are the heirs of the Black Panthers? This is the Philadelphia Tribune, October 21st, 2016. So then maybe what we have in 2026 is the new Black Panthers. I mean, this is why I don't take it seriously. It's not because I'm disrespecting the original Black Panthers, who may have been just, righteous, successful men who were actually a little too successful, right? The government had to shut it down. That's my thought, but I haven't, like I said, this is my first deep dive into the Black Panthers. So my take on this, what's going on in 2026, is it's insanity. Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm not seeing federal agents as criminals. I'm seeing them as trying to get their job done, and there's obstruction and an insurrection. So that's where I'm coming from. All right, whatever information you have on the Black Panthers, please share, because I'm under the impression that the original Black Panthers were righteous men who successfully defended their neighborhoods from these corrupt, criminal law enforcement agents, judges, etc., the globalists, the psychopaths that are causing all the trouble today. 50 years ago this week, the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense was founded in Oakland, California, by activists Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale. The group quickly shortened its name to the Black Panther Party and emerged as the most iconic revolutionary organization to come out of the Black Power era and the larger global political maelstrom of the 1960s, and one whose causes still resonate today. The Panthers, inspired by Malcolm X's revolutionary Black nationalism and the socialist revolutions in Cuba, Africa, and across the Third World, issued a 10-point program divided into sections titled What We Want and What We Need that called for ending police brutality, decent housing for Black people, and the radical reform of the criminal justice system. And like other nationalists, these people loved their country, and they were not racist. They were not. The original Black Panthers were not racist. Okay, they knew that there were good people and there were bad people. Like surrealist painters, the Panthers imagined a world that did not exist but could be willed into being. They fashioned themselves as the revolutionary vanguard of a worldwide liberation movement that would be led by Blacks, but feature multiracial and multinational coalitions, including the White New Left, who they characterized as mother country radicals. Their image: sporting leather jackets, bandoliers, powder blue t-shirts, and black turtlenecks. The Panthers, this is stupid. Black children of the Great Migration who trace their roots back to Louisiana and Texas, the 24-year-old Newton and 30-year-old Seale belonged to a generation of young Black men denied educational opportunities by Jim Crow, criminalized by law enforcement, and marginalized within the civil rights movement. Ironically, the civil rights insurgency in Lowndes County, Alabama, where the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or NCC, pronounced SNCC, helped organize an independent political party, was nicknamed the Black Panther Party, and provided the BPP with its name and symbol. In an era before social media offered visual evidence of police brutality and the murder of Black people, the Black Panthers organized armed patrols in Oakland police, leading to dramatic confrontations that nearly ended in violence. The group made national news on May 2nd, 1967, when an armed contingent strolled into California's state capitol to protest a bill aimed at ending their right to openly carry weapons. The group's swaggering, at times reckless bravado attracted scores of new recruits, including activists Kathleen Neal Cleaver and Eldridge Cleaver. Cleaver and Eldridge Cleaver, a former prisoner who became the BPP's Minister of Information and a best-selling author. Now, I remember reading that they were infiltrated by radicals. By 1968, the Black Panthers became a global phenomenon, fueled by a Free Huey campaign organized in the aftermath of the young BPP Minister of Defense's confrontation with two police officers that left one officer dead and the other seriously wounded. Newton also suffered a bullet wound to his stomach. He was sentenced to 2 to 15 years for a manslaughter conviction. The campaign helped to get Newton an appeal, and he was released in 1970. So you think about that. Through a nationally distributed newspaper, the Black Panther, the BPP organized demonstrations, political education rallies, and alliances with white, Latino, Native American, and Asian American allies. The BPP became, for a time, one of the leading revolutionary groups in the world. Although some media focused on the image of the Panthers as urban guerrillas, the group's biggest impact occurred at the grassroots through community organizing. Comprising several thousand members of over 3 dozen chapters in cities that includes LA, New York, Philadelphia, Portland, Seattle, New Haven, Connecticut, and Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the Panthers established free breakfast programs, health clinics, busing to prison programs, legal clinics, sickle cell anemia testing, and food drives that aided some of America's poorest Black communities. And this is what made the Black Panthers great. It was this: peaceful, armed presence, but mainly community services. Not social welfare that gets taken advantage of and abused and stolen from and unadulterated. This is what the spirit of America was about in the beginning. You know, when we had fire departments organized by men like Ben Franklin, it was volunteer. This was not welfare. This was not socialist. This is the power of the people. That's what made the Panthers great. But again, you always have these radicals that have to come in and ruin everything, right? Or you have the government that has to send the FBI in to blow stuff up. The FBI is nicknamed the Bomb Squad, right? They have like a special nickname. So let's find out who exactly these people are that are using all this chaos against federal agents who are simply trying to do their lawful job, right? Why is a Black Panther Party emerging now against ICE? Not the pedophiles in politics, but ICE. ICE is mainly, I've read, ICE is mainly made up of Latinos and Caucasian men, and they are mostly arresting Latinos, mainly, like predominantly Latino men. So why are the Black Panthers getting involved in this? Because of one Somali town of Africans? They're not even African Americans. They're not nationalists. So why aren't you nationalists, Black Panthers? Why aren't you supporting the nationalists if you're supposed to be a nationalist organization? This is why I don't think this is a legitimate Black Panther movement. But I'm going to dig deeper, much deeper into this. You let me know what you think. Thanks a lot.
Buckle your seatbelts because we are going to fly. The Black Panthers were founded in Oakland in response to police brutality from an overwhelmingly white police force. Only 2.5% of the Oakland police force was Black at the time. Bobby Seale and Huey Newton decided that they were going to patrol the police themselves. Huey Newton studied the California state law in detail and learned that it was legal to open carry loaded weapons as long as they maintained a certain distance and did not interfere with the police officers and their work. They purchased bulk quantities of Chairman Mao's Little Red Book, and they resold them to UC Berkeley students. students. They took the profits from this little endeavor and they purchased 2 shotguns and began following police squad cars throughout the neighborhood. They officially founded the Black Panther Party of Self-Defense in Oakland in October of 1966. They began their police patrols a few months later. You can imagine how these police patrols were depicted in the media. They're depicted as violent aggression, but it's important to note that the Panthers' presence at police stops never resulted in violence from either the Panthers nor the police. This will change later. That's not to say that the Panthers didn't become violent in other ways, but violence never resulted from the actual police patrols. As the Panthers' numbers began to grow, local police departments went to Republican State Congressman Don Mulford, and they urged him to author a bill making it a misdemeanor to carry a loaded weapon in public. The Panthers heard about this, and they decided to appear at the state capitol in Sacramento when the bill was being voted on to protest. And they did this with their guns in hand. While they are trying to find the spectator area of the Capitol building, they inadvertently walk out onto the floor of the state assembly with their weapons in their hands. There are iconic photos of this happening. Now, you can imagine the field day that the media has with this event. The media coverage of this single event led to the Panthers becoming nationally famous basically overnight. The bill eventually did pass and it became known as the Mulford Act. It was enacted in 1967 with the support of then California Governor Ronald Reagan and, get this, the National Rifle Association. It's amazing how opinions on gun control change when those arming themselves are black. I want to stress that again. California Governor Ronald Reagan, with the help of the NRA, helped to pass the Mulford Act in California, making it illegal to open carry loaded weapons in public. I also want to stress it is still illegal to open carry in the state of California as a result of the Mulford Act due to the oppression of the Black Panthers and their rights. This newfound popularity of the Panthers inspires them to open a headquarters in Oakland, and they begin publishing the Black Panther newspaper, where they lay out their 10-point platform. This is what they are after. 1. We want freedom. We want power to determine the destiny of our Black community. Number 2, we want full employment for our people. Number 3, we want an end to the robbery by the white man of our Black community. Number 4, we want decent housing, fit for shelter of human beings. Number 5, we want education for our people that exposes the true nature of this decadent American society. We want education that teaches us our true history and our role in the present-day society. Number 6, we want all Black men to be exempt from military service. Number 7, we want an immediate end to police brutality and murder of Black people. Number 8, we want freedom for all Black men held in federal, state, county, and city prisons and jails. Number 9, we want all Black people, when brought to trial, to be tried in court by a jury of their peer group or people from their Black communities, as defined by the Constitution of the United States. And number 10, we want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace. They also established 26 rules for every official member of the party. I won't read all of them. Here are a few. Number 1, no party member can have narcotics or weed in his possession while doing party work. Number 2, any party member found shooting narcotics will be expelled from this party. Number 3, no party member can be drunk while doing party work. Number 4, no party member will violate rules relating to office work, general meetings of the Black Panther Party, and meetings of the Black Panther Party elsewhere. Number 5, no party member will use, point, or fire a weapon of any kind unnecessarily or accidentally at anyone. Number 8, no party member will commit any crimes against other party members or Black people at all and cannot steal or take from the people, not even a needle or a piece of thread. Number 9, when arrested, Black Panther members will give only name, address, and will sign nothing. Legal first aid must be understood by all party members. Upon being released from prison, Eldridge Cleaver joins the Panthers in 1967. He was quite a bit older than most of the rest of the members of the party. In 1967, Cleaver was 32 years old and had spent 15 of those years behind bars. In 1967, Bobby Seale is only 25 years old, and Huey Newton is 31. In October 1967, Huey Newton is pulled over by Oakland police and a shootout ensues. 2 police officers and Newton are all shot. 1 police officer dies, and Newton is handcuffed in the hospital and charged with voluntary manslaughter. From jail, Huey Newton professes his innocence, and this leads to Free Huey demonstrations that become a movement in themselves. In the aftermath of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Eldridge Cleaver leads 11 other Panthers in an ambush on police officers. In the ensuing shootout, Cleaver and 17-year-old Bobby Hutton surrender. Upon surrendering, the police shoot Bobby Hutton 12 times. He immediately becomes a martyr of the movement. 1,500 people attended his funeral and 2,000 people attended the rally following the funeral. Actor Marlon Brando delivered a eulogy, and his death at the hands of the police garners an incredible amount of support for the Panthers. Eldridge Cleaver is charged with murder after the incident, and he flees the country. First to Cuba, then to Algeria, where he sets up an international chapter of the Black Panthers, which receives support from many countries. This results in a large influx of new members. Many of the new members are college students, which leads to some tension within the party. The original urban Black membership wants to maintain its street image, while others want the party to adopt a more mainstream image. It's important to note the importance of the Black Panther image in recruiting new members. Martin Luther King Jr. was always mainstream in his rhetoric and attire. He wore church suits. Malcolm X, while his rhetoric was more radical, his image was still conservative. He still wore suits. The Panthers were radical in both rhetoric and image. This was more relatable to poor blacks, and this is one of the factors that led to them being so popular. The name of the party was officially shortened from the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense to the Black Panther Party. It's at this point that the party starts focusing on its quote-unquote survival programs. The Panthers create free breakfast programs for children, clothing and food drives, free clinics, free sickle cell testing programs, free self-defense training, free classes on politics and economics, free drug and alcohol rehabilitation program. By this time, mid to late 1960s, party membership is over 10,000, and there are chapters in Atlanta, Baltimore, Boston, Chicago, Cleveland, Dallas, Denver, Detroit, Kansas City, Los Angeles, Newark, New Orleans, New York City, Omaha, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, San Diego, San Francisco, Seattle, Toledo, and Washington, D.C. The Black Panther newspaper is the most widely read newspaper in the United States, with a readership of over 250,000 per week. In 1968, the Panthers breakfast program provided 20,000 meals for children in 19 different communities. Due to their growing popularity, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover attacked the Black Panther Party publicly. He authors an article that gets published in national newspapers in which he says, quote, "The Black Panther..."
Before we get into the article about Hoover, I want to make sure that everybody understands his history. And he was being blackmailed by Meyer Lansky, who was the Jewish mob boss. In the 40s, he started blackmailing Hoover because Hoover was a closet homosexual, and he would have all of these trysts. So there's a little bit of history about Hoover.
Party, without question, represents the greatest threat to the internal security of the country. This leads us to COINTELPRO. We can't possibly do justice to the entire COINTEL program in this episode. Just know that COINTEL stands for Counterintelligence, and it was a program created by the FBI to deal with quote-unquote dissidents in the United States. But frankly, the majority of its activities targeted the Black Panther Party. J. Edgar Hoover, director of the FBI, sends a memo to all FBI field offices. This memo says, "The purpose of this new counterintelligence endeavor is to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize the activities of Black nationalists, hate-type organizations and groupings, their leadership, spokesmen, membership, and supporters, and to counter their propensity for violence and civil disorder. You are urged to take an enthusiastic and imaginative approach to this new counterintelligence endeavor, and the Bureau will be pleased to entertain any suggestions or techniques you may recommend."
Taxes was feeling unwelcome.
Here's just one example of some activities from an official FBI memo. It says, San Francisco has submitted a counterintelligence proposal which involves the mailing of expulsion letters to approximately 60 members of the Black Panther Party in various parts of the United States as a disruptive measure. The letters are to be prepared on Black Panther Party stationery with the simulated signature of a Black Panther Party national official. The laboratory has prepared similar reproductions of Black Panther Party stationery and official signatures in the past. As pointed out in this letter, we need additional information before going ahead with the preparation of the letters. So their plan is to send letters to different Black Panther Party members on official Black Panther Party stationery, telling them they have been expelled from the party to create confusion and disorganization within the party. In its lifetime, the COINTEL program was responsible for 290 official activities. Of those, 245 targeted the Black Panthers specifically. In 1968, Bobby Seale attended the Democratic National Convention, where he delivered a speech. He gets arrested and charged with conspiracy to cross state lines to induce a riot. In an effort to stamp out all Black Panther activity, the FBI worked with New York City Police Department and arrested 21 members, including all of the leadership of the New York City chapter. The police claimed that the Panthers had been involved in a plot to bomb police stations and other locations throughout the city. These arrested activists become known as the Panther 21. At Bobby Seale's trial in Chicago in October 1969, his attorney was ill and could not arrive in time for the trial. Seale attempted to represent himself, but the judge refused, having him gagged and chained to his chair. He gets charged with contempt of court 16 times and is sentenced to 4 years in prison. All other charges were dropped. Remember, he was charged with crossing state lines to incite a riot. All of those charges get dropped, and he is instead charged with 16 contempt of court charges as a result of fighting against the gagging that the judge ordered. As word of this gets out, huge demonstrations begin to take place outside of the courthouse during the trial in Chicago. This leads us to the rise of Fred Hampton. During the demonstrations outside of the courthouse, Fred Hampton, who at the time was 21 years old, addresses the crowd. He was the chairman of the Illinois chapter and deputy chairman of the national chapter of the Black Panther Party. He emphasizes revolution. He emphasizes racial unity. Due to his charisma and incredible organizing skills, he quickly rises to national prominence. Hampton establishes what he names the Rainbow Coalition, which is a coalition of diverse racial and ethnic working-class activist groups working together, including the Students for a Democratic Society, the Brown Berets, the Red Guard Party, and even Chicago gangs who agree to maintain peace and work together. This Rainbow Coalition becomes a target of FBI activity. The Black Panther Party establishes what they call Panther Pads. Panther members left home and moved in together for the safety of their families. They were very organized for security, cleaning, cooking, etc., and building a community in the movement. The FBI manipulated this situation. FBI informants gave Panthers guns. They then told the police that they were armed and should be attacked. So the FBI is furnishing them with weapons, then they're telling the local police forces that they are armed and dangerous. The key example of this going down is when local police, having been giving a layout of the apartment of Fred Hampton and the other Black Panthers, invade the apartment in the middle of the night with the intent to assassinate Fred Hampton. The police fire 90 shots into the apartment. Later investigations find that the Black Panthers fired once, most likely accidental, when the guard who was guarding the door was shot and his gun went off. It turns out that Hampton's personal bodyguard was an FBI informant. Like I said, he provided the floor plans and a key to the Black Panther pad. He also is one that sold guns to the Black Panther members, guns provided to him by the FBI. The police immediately provide an account of events. They say there must have been 6 or 7 of them firing. The firing must have gone on 10 or 12 minutes. If 200 shots were exchanged, that was nothing. It's a miracle that not one policeman was killed.
And again, that sounds like Waco. It sounds like Ruby Ridge, right?
They recreate a life-size model of the apartment and have the raiding officers act out the raid for national television. The problem is they did not secure the scene after they left, and the media and other community members are invited by the Black Panther Party to enter into the apartment and to see for themselves what went down, and they immediately notice contradictions in the police version versus the evidence they see with their own eyes in the apartment. A federal investigation concluded that the police immediately shot and killed Mark Clark. He's the guard on the door. They most likely shot him through the door before it had ever been opened. They then enter the apartment and begin unloading through the walls in the direction of Fred Hampton's bed. They find Hampton laying in his bed unconscious but still breathing, drag him into the hallway, and shoot him 2 times in the head at point-blank range. The surviving Panthers all testify that they hear one officer say, "He's good and dead now." Now the question, how many shots were fired? Like I said earlier, the federal investigation concludes that 1 shot at most, even this can't be confirmed, came from the Black Panthers, and it came from Clark, who was shot dead, presumably through the door before it was even opened. He was holding a shotgun. When he was shot, the shotgun fired and went through the ceiling. The police fired between 82 and 99 rounds into the apartment. Like I said, the Panthers shot 1, accidentally, into the ceiling. No police are ever charged. The families of Hampton and Clark, who were the two that are killed during the raid, charged the police department with wrongful death. After a 13-year lawsuit, the police department settles for $1.8 million. Fred Hampton immediately becomes a martyr for the movement. SWAT in Los Angeles raids Black Panther Party headquarters on December 8, 1969. This was the first deployment of the newly formed Los Angeles SWAT team. They enter the headquarters at 4:30 a.m. with a no-knock warrant. The standoff lasts for 5 hours and involved over 300 LAPD officers. 6 Panthers and 3 officers are wounded. Eventually, the Panthers surrender. Many Panthers are arrested on many charges, including conspiracy to murder police officers, which carried a life sentence. After a trial, the jury determines that the Panthers were acting in self-defense, and all were found not guilty. Now remember that Huey Newton had been charged in his shootout with police. In 1970, all of his charges are dropped and he is freed from prison. He immediately becomes an icon for the movement. Though it's around this time that the Black Panther Party begins its downfall. People become afraid to join the party because they know that the FBI has infiltrated and were everywhere, and the police were arresting for no reason, and even if found not guilty, they'd spend time in jail. Huey Newton expels the Panther 21, who are still in jail at this time. The legal fees of their defense were becoming too much for the Black Panther Party to support. Eldridge Cleaver sides with the Panther 21, and the party becomes split between Huey Newton, who wants to focus on social services, and Eldridge Cleaver, who wants to lead a more radical movement. The schism is between those who saw the party as a vehicle for social service and those who viewed it as a vehicle to overthrow the United States government.
And there you have it. I think that is a really good history of the Black Panther Party. And from that, we can see in which direction this current party is heading. This man here was doing real good work, God's work. But unfortunately, it went in a wrong direction. And it continues to go in that direction today, which is a real shame because we need more of the community-based programs from within that are organic, community-based programs to help feed children and not steal money from hardworking citizens, steal food from children like we see today in Minnesota with the government. And sadly, we're seeing support of these politicians by the new Black Panther Party in Philadelphia and beyond. And like they say, if we aren't taught history, we're destined to repeat it. And this is why public school keeps us all so stupid. They don't want us to know our history. They don't want us to know the truth about the Black Panther Party. And these individuals heading up the most contemporary version of this once righteous organization.
Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. You know, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
How did one man go from petty criminal to becoming a global voice against racism? He's one of the most prominent Muslims in modern history and a symbol of black liberation who has inspired generations. A gangster, a preacher, and a revolutionary, this is the extraordinary journey of Malcolm X. Malcolm X was born in 1925 in Omaha, Nebraska. His parents, Earl and Louise Little, were followers of the Pan-African activist Marcus Garvey. As a result, their family was subjected to constant harassment by the Ku Klux Klan, who burned down their home when Malcolm was just 4 years old. The family moved to Michigan, where they were threatened by the Black Legion, an offshoot of the KKK. 4 of Malcolm's uncles were also murdered by white racists. Malcolm's father died when he was 6. The incident was officially ruled a streetcar accident, although his mother believed he had ultimately been murdered by the Black Legion. When Malcolm was 13, his mother was committed to a mental institution. Her children were split up and sent to different foster homes. Malcolm was an excellent student, but dropped out of school after a white teacher told him it was unrealistic for a young black boy to have aspirations of being a lawyer. After a few years in Michigan and Boston, he moved to Harlem at the age of 18, where he was involved in gambling, robbery, drug dealing, and pimping. At the age of 21, after committing a string of robberies with a small gang in Boston, Malcolm was arrested and sentenced to 8 to 10 years at Charlestown State Prison. Incarceration was the beginning of Malcolm's transformation. While in prison, his siblings began writing to him about the Nation of Islam and its leader, Elijah Muhammad. The Nation of Islam promoted black independence and rejected the notion of the superiority of white people. Instead, Elijah Muhammad taught his followers a form of separatism from whites, who were actually considered devils, inferior to black people, who were the original inhabitants of Earth. Malcolm, initially hostile to the idea of any religion, eventually became a member of the nation.
And there you have it. How these Prescott Bushes of the world radicalize young African Americans into hating white people, into hating Americans. Explain to me how you can still love America when you hate Americans. This man was not a nationalist. We have two very, very different men with very different end games coming together.
Okay. Your family moved from Louisiana to California, like many folks. They moved from the South to the Oakland area. What did your family hope when they moved to Oakland, and what did they hope for you?
My family moved from Louisiana to Oakland primarily seeking a better life. My father was a farmer in Louisiana and a preacher, and he moved out to the Bay Area in order to work in the shipping yards. It was a naval supply, it was called at the time, and that was the reason most blacks moved out for work, better pay, and a better life.
You're talking about the political aspirations that they had for you, and the fact that you're named after Huey P. Long. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, my father was impressed with Huey P. Long, even though at the time in the South that blacks couldn't vote, that Huey P. Long was created the first black hospital and medical school. And even though Huey P. Long gave the pitch to the white races that they needed a black medical school and hospital because he didn't want white women seeing black men nude and so forth. My father thought Huey P. Long was using tricks in order to improve the situation for blacks at the time.
Are there specific events or relationships that have helped advance your political grounding? Things that you remember that sort of helped you in forming your political thought?
Well, my family they were always interested in politics, especially my father. As when we moved to Oakland, we were connected to the. Matter of fact, my father was the assistant pastor to Antioch Baptist Church. Reverend Thomas was the pastor, and this was down on 7th Street. The church became a member of the NAACP, and matter of fact, in the early 50s, that King was invited out by a collection of churches. And that was my first time hearing King at the Oakland Auditorium, I believe. But my family was interested in improving the political and economic situation of blacks.
How did Bobby Seale and you use the anti-poverty office as a base of operation for the early work of the Black Panther Party?
Bobby Seale and I used the North Oakland Service Center as the original work spot to put together our program. They had all the machinery, mimeograph machines and typewriters. Also, they were at the time the poverty program. The North Oakland Service Center was a part of the poverty program. And the service centers collected names of people on welfare, elderly people who needed aid. we use those lists to go around and canvass the community in order to find out the desires of the community. So we would go from house to house and explain to people our program. We printed up the first program at the North Oakland Service Center.
Why did you choose to focus on the police as a major target for the Panther Party early on?
Well, the police throughout the community, not only the Oakland community, but throughout the black communities in the country, were really the government. We had more contact with the police than we did the city council. The police were universally disliked. In Oakland, there was about in '66, there was about October '66 when the party was founded. There was about 1% black on the police department. Shortly before that, I think in '53, Oakland had its first black policeman who was a friend of my father's.
And I believe that's why there's so many Irish got into law enforcement, right? I mean, you want to talk about oppression. Is anybody been oppressed more than the Irish? I guess maybe the Christians, the original Christians, right? The Jews. But man, yeah, the Irish, they worked their way onto the police forces. Absolutely, for the same reason.
His name was Kenner. My father broke friendship with Kenner because of his membership in the Oakland Police. Not because he was a policeman, but because at the time that the policy was that Kenner could only arrest black people, and if he could detain a white, but he would have to call a white officer. And my father thought this was degrading. It was no change from what was happening in the South.
Could you talk about the pattern of police brutality in Oakland as you understood it at that time, and how people articulated it to you?
Well, the police were Southerners. Matter of fact, in '60s, they were still recruiting from Georgia because we captured some flyers. And they said the white Southerners knew how to handle these Negroes. So the police were impolite, and they were very fast to kill a black for minor offenses such as black youth stealing automobiles. They would shoot them in the back and so forth. I can't recall any particular names, but it was widespread dislike for the police because of their inhumane treatment of blacks.
Okay. What was the intention of putting forward the 10-point program? And you might summarize that, the 10-point program.
Well, the 10-point program tried to identify the basic needs and aspirations of black people. Within the 10-point program, we came up with basically we needed education, we needed decent housing, we wanted fair treatments in the court, we wanted medical care, we wanted the availability for food and clothing for blacks, and full employment. So the program was a comprehensive program to really lay down a blueprint for community development.
Okay. And could you talk about, was there any relationship with the Nation of Islam, and could you talk about your experiences with the Nation of Islam and how that affected the 10-point program's shaping?
Well, early on, I was about in the early 60s, about 1960, 61, I had started Oakland City College. At Oakland City College, I was a member, instrumental in creating the Afro-American Association. The Afro-American Association was led by Donald Wharton. And the program was a cultural program to institute ethnic studies, African studies and Afro-American studies. From the Afro-American Association, we created from the Afro-American Association, it's stemmed the Soul Student Advisory Council, and that was the action group inside of the school. After we created the study classes, I felt that there was need to do other things to affect the wider community. And I became in contact. I came in contact with the black Muslims. I was very impressed with Malcolm X, and Malcolm X program, or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that Malcolm X followed. Program was it was like a 10-point program. Matter of fact, that our program was structured after the pattern after the Black Muslim program. It was minus the religion, and I think that I became disillusioned with the Muslims after Malcolm X was assassinated. I think that I was following not Elijah Muhammad or the Muslims, but Malcolm X himself.
Okay, you were talking before about community control within the black community and also integration into the larger institutions. Could you talk about how you believed in that philosophy and how you saw the Panthers sort of implementing that?
Well, a short time after I was impressed by the Muslims and disillusioned after the assassination of Malcolm X, I was studying politics, and I became interested in progressive labor and the Socialist Workers' Party. At that time, it was during the period of African liberation. Most of the African countries were liberated during the 60s from colonialism. And that we felt that there was a need for not a separate nation, but control of our dispersed communities. And we wanted control of the communities where we were most numerous and the institutions therein. And at the same time that we felt that we were due, because of tax paying, we were due free access to and equal treatment in public facilities. And we thought everyone should have that kind of participation in public facilities.
Let's cut. Let's change.
Give me 1 second to settle.
Second sticks.
Except ICE protesters.
Oh, okay.
Just kidding.
Okay, again, the notion of community control in black communities and also fighting for public access to public accommodations, how was that part of the Panther philosophy and how? Yeah.
At the time, there were many black nationalist groups that were influenced by the African liberation movement. And we differed from the black American nationalist movement, and that we felt that we wanted it wasn't our goal for segregation or integration. Really, we wanted control of the institutions in our community where we were most numerous, and at the same time that we thought that we were due public to access to public institutions on an equal basis, and we thought everyone should be able to equally participate in public institutions. I think that, as I remember back, I was influenced by the situation and the conditions in China. In the People's Republic of China, where there were many minority groups. I think the Huns are the majority group. All of in the areas of the minority ethnic groups, the Chinese, this ethnic minority controlled its community, but yet they had full access to the public facilities. So I thought that if it could work there, it could work here.
That's good. Could you talk about you've done it a little bit, but talk about the original vision of the Black Panther Party. Did you see it as a local organization or as a revolutionary organization? What, in the beginning, when you and Bobby Seale were first talking?
No, I thought that it would be a national organization. I thought that with our when blacks across the country.
Start that again and rephrase the Black Panther Party.
All right, the Black Panther Party felt that we would quickly become a national organization when blacks across the country saw what we were doing in Oakland by driving out the what we call the oppressive army of police, and controlling our community, the institutions in the community. We felt that the government's next move would be to bring in a National Guard to recapture these institutions, and this would connect us to the international movement of the workers' movement, the international proletarian movement, such as what's happening in Cuba, and we're very impressed by the Cuban Revolution. And at the time of the creation of the Black Panther Party, I was introduced to Marxism, and I think I had read a book called the Materialism and Empirical Criticism, and by Ivy Lenin. And at that time,
and then he was introduced to Catholic communism.
That it was pointed out that there are many contradictory social forces, and if you knew what to increase or decrease at a particular time, that you could cause a transformation. And so we were trying to increase the conflict that was already happening, and that was between the white racism, the police forces in the various communities and the black communities in the country, and we felt that we would take the conflict to so high a level that some change had to come.
But we have to remember, it's never been about skin tone. It's just about opportunity, and these, what he refers to as racist whites, these globalists, these psychopath pedophiles, Satanists, they enslaved people who had the exact same skin color for far longer. So, we have righteous men, radicalized children, and we have Catholic communism ruining everything. Because their movement, yeah, of course, it was righteous, minus the reparations, right? And, you know, there's a little bit of dumb stuff going on there, but overall, it was needed and it was successful. And this is not what we see today. We don't see the volunteer. We don't see the programs that benefit the children in the community. This is anti-ICE. This is just the same nonsense. Same nonsense. This is BLM. BLM, by the way, was another form of Black Panthers. It was just a very radical one. If you read their list of demands, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm a Jenny. They literally mention me in their little declaration of retardation. Do you think the new Black Panther Party will honor men like Huey Newton? Or is it just going to be another embarrassment to the nation and more insurrection? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Take care.